Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm bringing you another installment of my beta reader series. I do not remember what episode we're on. I'll put it on the screen right here. It will also be in the title and stuff. But today we are talking all about how to handle criticism and hate from your beta readers. Now I just want to say that this doesn't just apply to beta readers, to pretty much any sort of feedback that you get from your book. Before we get into the tips, let's talk about every writer's biggest fear. What do I do if my beta reader hates my book? Some betas might even bow out of the entire beta reader process because they're just hating the book so much and they're just like, fuck this shit, I'm out. But I would say a majority of your beta readers are going to stay and probably try and help you fix your book because that's basically the entire point of them reading it. Try and just remember that this is a draft. It is not the final version, and there are going to be many rounds of edits in order to make your book better. But guess what? Even when you publish, some people aren't going to like it. Some people will probably even hate your book because no book is made for everyone. So just take a deep breath and listen to what your beta readers are saying. And even though some of it might come across as hateful to you, I still think it can be helpful to try and get some feedback out of the hate. And along that note, number one, remember that this is a draft. It is not perfect and no one is expecting it to be perfect. Trust me. And just try and remember that it is good that you are getting this now, because by receiving this criticism, you are able to improve your book and it's going to get better and better and better. And as your beta rounds go on and on and on, your book is just going to be better. And it's honestly really rewarding, in my opinion, to look back and just realize that you have improved your book so much. And yet your betas helped you to guide you into the right direction. But at the end of the day, you made those edits and you made your book better. And just remind yourself that it's a draft, it's not perfect, and you asked for the feedback can go a long way in making you not hate the entire process. Number two, there is a difference between criticism and hate. Notice how in the title, criticism and hate were two different things because they are not the same. I'm going to use an example from my own beta reader process, and before I list it, let me just say I am not hating on any of my beta readers. I genuinely loved working with each of my betas. They are all amazing and they have helped me improve my book so much, and I'm so grateful for all of them. But with that being said, there is still a difference between them giving me helpful feedback and them hating on my book. So in my first run of beta readers, one of my betas went on a very long rant about how Sophia being called sister was impossible because they are non-binary, and non-binary people are never allowed to be called sister or brother because that is a gender term, and no real non-binary person would be okay with that, and thus in my writing it shouldn't be that way. And they were basically really confused, not just by that but by some other stuff with Sophia's character. If you don't know, in my book, my MC, Sophia, is non-binary. So that was, as you can imagine, very offensive as someone who falls under the non-binary umbrella, and who it just really hurt to hear a beta reader say that. I was like, okay. Versus in that same round, I had another beta reader who basically said the same thing, but just not hateful, and they were basically like, hey, I found it really confusing how Sophia was getting really hurt about referred to as she and her, but then they're fine with being called Ron and sister. So I was just thinking maybe you could add in a scene or two where you explain that, because as someone who isn't non-binary, it's just very confusing to read. And that was like, oh, that makes sense. And honestly, when I read that, I realized that the previous beta was trying to say the same thing, but it just I was so offended by it. I did not see the criticism at all whatsoever. So also, side note, if I have any beta readers watching this, there's nothing wrong with giving an author feedback, but at least make it nice. Just don't be a dick. And if a beta reader is legitimately hating on you and giving you very mean feedback, do not be afraid to tell them to just be a little bit more courteous with their feedback, and tell them to be a little bit less of a dick. Just not in those exact words, but in a nicer form, but something like that. You could just be like, hey, so thank you so much for all the feedback. I did notice that some of the things you were saying were very kind of mean and kind of offensive, so I was wondering if you could kind of tone it down. Like, I absolutely want your feedback. It's just the way that you gave it to me, like, it was just really hard for me to process because I found it to be very hateful. And just try and have a discussion with your beta reader about it, and if they're still being a dick, drop them out of the process. You don't need that shit in your life. Number 3, know when it's the time to step back and fucking breathe. For example, let's say that you have depression. Let's say that you have a depressive episode. That sounds like an awful time to go through your beta reader's feedback and organize it, because in that feedback you are going to find a lot of criticism and maybe even some hate. So that sounds like a recipe for disaster when you're depressed. So how about you save that for a time when your mental state is a lot better? I'm just saying. Obviously, you have to go through the feedback at some point and make the changes. For me, I just think that it makes more sense to do it when you're like in a clear state of mind, and sometimes you're just not. And sometimes it might not even just be your mental health. Maybe you're just really busy one week and you just don't have the brain power to like power through that feedback. Because honestly, organizing beta reader feedback is probably the most overwhelming part about the entire process, at least in my opinion. And that brings me into number 4. That is not 4, which is go through your feedback in doses. Trust me, if you have 10 plus beta readers, you need to go through that shit in doses. Typically what I will do is I will go through a few beta readers feedback for one section of my book, and then I will take a super short break, like maybe 5 or 10 minutes at a max, and then I will get back to it. And the reason I take these breaks is because the first time I went through my feedback I did not, and that was a very bad choice. So I'm never going to do that again. So I just think that it's usually a better idea to just go through your feedback in doses, because then it's a lot less overwhelming and you'll have a clearer head when you're going through the feedback. And also this can be helpful because this way you can go ahead and squeeze the times to go through your feedback in small doses throughout your day. For example, let's say that you have 2 classes one day and you have a half-hour break in between. Well, for that half hour, you could be going through your beta reader feedback. Since you are doing it in doses anyways, that would be like 1 dose time. And lastly, number 5, don't forget about the praise. Chances are your betas have liked something about your book. This could be the prose, this could be the characters, this could be that the dialogue was authentic, this could be that the romance was swoon-worthy, what the fuck ever. Chances are there are something, or hopefully multiple somethings, that your beta readers are enjoying. And I feel like it's pretty obvious why this is helpful, but I'll still give you the 3 reasons why you should. Reason number 1, it will keep you sane. Trust me. Reason number 2, if your beta readers like something that's usually a weakness for you, for example, I'm usually really bad at writing fight scenes, and there was one scene in my book where betas loved it. Like, a lot of them said that was their favorite fight scene in the whole book. So when I went to edit my other fight scenes, I focused on looking at that one fight scene and I tried to replicate its success. So not like trying to make the other fight scenes like the exact same as that one, but seeing what I did right in that one and kind of how I could transfer that over to my other fight scenes. And lastly, number 3, so that you know what your strengths are. And knowing what your strengths are in your writing can be really helpful for multiple reasons. For example, if you are looking for a CP through your beta readers, you could be able to say, okay, well, my betas have really been enjoying my romance scenes and my dialogue. So when I'm looking for CPs, I can mention that I'm really good with romance and dialogue. That way your CPs can know what you're already good at, and this can also just help you with editing in general, because then you know to not really focus on the romance or the dialogue, but instead to focus on the fight scenes and the characters. Obviously, this is just an example, and this could really apply to anything, and I think that just in general, when you are struggling with something and you see examples of how you've done it right, that shows you that you can do it right, because you've done it before and you can do it again, and that makes the editing process a whole lot less of a bitch. So I hope you enjoyed this week's installment of the beta reader process. Sorry for missing Tuesday's video, but laptop problems. So that is all that I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please give it a big thumbs up and hit that big red subscribe button down below. Turn on those post notifications so that you know every time that I upload, and let me know in the comments down below how you handle criticism and or hate from your beta readers, and if you have any tips, let us know. And as always, if you have any questions about beta readers or if you have requests for future videos in the series, let me know. I'm doing this shit for you guys. And yeah, that's all I've got for you today. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!